My wife sent her affair partner a love letter, but I was the one who read it. Hey Reddit, I honestly never thought I'd be writing here, but life has a funny way of throwing you curveballs. My wife and I have been married for 8 years. We met at work, clicked over coffee runs and shared playlists, and I really believed we had something unbreakable. We've always been that couple. Inside jokes, little traditions, friends would say they envied how in sync we were. But something shifted over the last 6 months. At first, it was little things, a new password on her phone, late nights catching up on work, less laughter around the house. She started guarding her texts and seemed distant, always tired or distracted. I chalked it up to work stress, or maybe a rough patch we'd worked through. I kept telling myself, every marriage has phases like this. I wish I'd listened to my gut sooner. Last Saturday, everything changed. I was cleaning up after breakfast. She'd already rushed out for errands, and I noticed her tablet plugged in on the kitchen counter. She usually keeps it in her bag, but I didn't think much of it. I just wanted to turn it off to save the battery. When I woke it up, a notification popped up, draft saved. It was from her notes app, the one she never lets me near. For some reason, my hand hovered over the screen. I know it's wrong to snoop, but something felt off. The pit in my stomach was back, and before I could talk myself out of it, I tapped the app open. There it was, a note titled simply for you. At first, I thought maybe it was for me. A letter, maybe, or some surprise. I wish that's what it had been. The first words I read made my heart stop. My hands started shaking as I read the opening lines. I wish we could stop hiding. Every stolen moment with you reminds me of what I'm missing at home. It was like someone poured ice water down my spine. She wrote about how alive you made her feel, how she couldn't wait for the next weekend escape. The more I read, the worse it got. Specific memories, inside jokes, even plans for the future. She said she wished she'd met him sooner, before so much time was wasted. There was no ambiguity. She signed off with, "I love you more than I should." I kept rereading those words, hoping I'd misunderstood, but it was all there. Her handwriting, even digitally, felt so familiar, but the words felt like they belonged to a stranger. My world flipped upside down in a single paragraph. I must have stood there frozen for 10 minutes, heart pounding in my ears. I don't know how long I just stood there, staring at the screen, trying to convince myself it was some kind of cruel joke or mistake. I wanted so badly to find an explanation, anything other than what it so obviously was. But every word was hers, and every line chipped away at the image I'd held of our marriage. When the shock started to fade, it turned into nausea. I felt physically sick. I put the tablet down, paced the kitchen, and tried to breathe. Part of me wanted to call her immediately and demand answers. Another part felt like crawling under a rock and pretending I'd never seen it. I kept replaying moments from the last few months, her forced smiles, the sudden girls' nights, the secretive texts. It all started to make a horrible kind of sense. That was the moment I realized the person I loved most in the world was living a second life right under my nose. I spent the next hour in a daze, barely registering what I was doing. I kept picking up the tablet, reading the letter over again, as if maybe the words would change. I even started looking through the rest of her notes and messages, but that one letter was enough. I didn't want more details. I already felt like I was drowning. She came home around noon, acting totally normal, chatting about groceries and dinner. I tried to play along, but my mind was spinning. I could barely look at her without thinking about those sentences, those confessions. I kept wondering, how long has this been going on? Who is he? Did I ever even know her at all? I couldn't keep it in. The words were burning in my throat, and I knew if I waited any longer, I might just explode. So I decided to confront her right then, before I lost my nerve. I followed her into the living room, my heart pounding so loud I was sure she could hear it. I asked her if we could talk. She looked up, surprised, maybe even a little nervous, but nodded. I sat across from her, trying to steady my voice, and just said it. "I found the letter on your tablet." Her face went white. For a second, she didn't say anything, just stared at me, mouth open, like she was searching for an escape. I waited. Finally, she managed a weak, "What letter?" But it was pointless. I told her I'd read everything that I knew about the other man. She started crying, real tears, and kept saying, "I'm so sorry, I never meant to hurt you." She admitted it right away. No more lies, no more pretending. She said it started as a friendship that just went too far. The words barely registered. All I could feel was a cold, hollow ache in my chest. She kept talking, trying to explain. Said she'd been unhappy, lonely, that things changed between us and she didn't know how to fix it. She claimed she never wanted to leave me, that the affair was a mistake, and she still loved me. But nothing she said could make it better. Every apology sounded hollow. Every excuse just made me angrier. I asked her who he was, how long it had been going on, and if she still planned to see him. She hesitated, wiped her eyes, and told me it had started about 6 months ago. He was someone from her gym, a guy she'd mentioned a few times, but I never suspected a thing. She swore it was over now, but honestly, I couldn't believe a word she said. I just sat there, numb, watching her cry and scramble for answers. I felt like I was watching someone else's life fall apart. The rest of that day is a blur. We argued, then sat in silence. I asked questions I never thought I'd have to ask. She kept saying she was sorry, but it felt like there was an invisible wall between us that couldn't be crossed anymore. I kept replaying the words from her letter, those moments she described with him, her laughter, her secrets, all the things I thought were ours. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured them together. I wondered what else she hadn't told me, what parts of our life were real and what parts were just a cover for her lies. I kept thinking about our wedding, our vacations, even just ordinary nights on the couch. Did she ever really mean it when she said she loved me? Or was I just convenient, someone she kept around while she looked for something better? I felt totally lost, betrayed, humiliated, and completely alone. The next morning, I couldn't look at her the same way. She tried to talk, but I shut down. I went for a long walk just to get out of the house and clear my head. Every little thing reminded me of her, of us. The park where we had picnics, the coffee shop we loved, even the songs on my playlist felt like knives. Anger started mixing with the heartbreak. I felt stupid for not noticing sooner, for trusting her so blindly. I kept thinking about the effort I put into our marriage, all the times I tried to make her happy, while she was giving her heart to someone else. The unfairness of it all ate at me. How could she destroy everything we built, and for what? A fling at the gym? I thought about calling her a fair partner, but the idea made me feel even more powerless. I just wanted answers, but I didn't know if I could handle the truth. For the next few days, we barely spoke. I told her I needed space, so I slept in the guest room. She respected that, but I could feel her watching me, desperate to say more. I started looking up therapists, marriage counseling. Part of me still wanted to fix things, or at least understand how we got here. But another part just wanted to run away, to erase the pain and start over. I kept replaying everything, the letter, her confession, all the warning signs I'd ignored. I found myself vacillating between wanting to scream at her and wanting to hold her and beg her to choose me again. I hated that I still cared, that I couldn't just flip a switch and stop loving her. I told a close friend what happened, and saying it out loud made it feel real in a way it hadn't before. He said I needed to decide what I wanted, if I could ever trust her again, if I even wanted to try. I honestly didn't know. Eventually, I agreed to try couples counseling. She seemed genuinely remorseful. She set up the appointments, wrote me letters, promised she'd cut all contact with him. She offered to let me check her phone, her emails, anything I needed. Part of me wanted to believe she could change, that maybe this was a wake-up call for both of us. But trust is a fragile thing, and mine felt shattered. The first counseling session was brutal. I let everything out, the pain, the anger, the sense of betrayal. She cried and apologized over and over, admitting that she'd been selfish and afraid. The counselor said rebuilding trust would take time and honesty, but that it was possible if we were both willing to work. I tried to keep an open mind, but every time she reached for my hand or said, "I love you," all I could see was the letter and those words meant for someone else. It was like there was a wall inside me now, something I couldn't break down. Counseling forced us to talk about things we'd both avoided, resentments, loneliness, the routines that slowly replaced real connection. She admitted she'd felt invisible, that she should have come to me instead of turning to someone else. I admitted I'd gotten comfortable, stopped checking in, assumed we were okay because nothing seemed wrong. There were moments when I saw glimpses of what we used to have. We laughed about small things, shared stories we'd forgotten. But those moments always faded, replaced by the memory of her betrayal. I found myself second-guessing everything, her smiles, her apologies, even her tears. I hated feeling paranoid, but I couldn't help it. Nights were the hardest. I'd lie awake replaying the discovery, the confrontation, wondering if our marriage could survive this, or if I was just clinging to something already broken. I started reading posts from people who'd been through similar things, searching for answers, for hope. Sometimes I found comfort, sometimes just more questions. After a few weeks, I realized I couldn't keep living in limbo. I needed to make a decision, not just for me, but for both of us. I told her I needed some real time apart, not just sleeping in separate rooms. She was devastated but agreed, saying she understood and would give me whatever space I needed. I packed a bag and went to stay with my brother for a while. Being away from her gave me clarity. The pain was still there, but so was a strange sense of relief. I didn't have to pretend, didn't have to analyze her every move. I had room to breathe, to figure out what I wanted. Friends told me I was strong for leaving, but honestly, I just felt tired. During those days, I wrote down everything I was feeling, the betrayal, the doubts, even the things I still loved about her. I tried to imagine a future where I could forgive, and another where I moved on. Both felt equally terrifying. Eventually, I decided to meet with her one last time and talk honestly about where we stood. We met at a quiet cafe, neutral ground. I told her I didn't hate her, but I couldn't pretend nothing happened. I needed to trust myself again, and that meant stepping away from the marriage, at least for now. She cried, but she understood. She apologized again, not for the last time, and told me she hoped I'd heal. Walking away was the hardest thing I've ever done. The life we built together, the inside jokes, the shared memories, felt like they belonged to someone else now. I kept replaying what-ifs in my mind, wondering if there was a version of this story where we both ended up happy together. Maybe there is, somewhere. But right now, I have to put myself first. I started seeing a therapist on my own. I'm working through the pain, learning how to let go, figuring out who I am without her. It's a long road, but I'm moving forward. So here I am, still hurting, still healing, but starting to see a future again. If you're reading this and you've been through something similar, here's what I've learned. Trust your gut, even if it's painful. Don't lose yourself trying to hold together something that's already broken. It's okay to grieve, to be angry, to walk away. You don't owe anyone forgiveness or another chance if you're not ready. Healing doesn't happen all at once. Some days are harder than others. But you deserve honesty and respect in your relationship, and so do I. I'm still figuring things out, but I know I'm stronger than I thought. If you're facing infidelity, don't be afraid to ask for help, whether it's friends, family, or therapy. You're not alone, no matter how lonely it feels. Thanks for listening, Reddit. I never thought I'd be here, but sharing my story makes it just a little bit easier to breathe.